So you do have like quite a big following on social media, and you're very active with your social media channels and sharing your art on there. How important do you think it is these days to sort of have that digital presence and build your business in that way?
Yeah, I think it's really important to have something or someone batting for you. I know some artists who are very much not on social media, but have, are represented by like good agents or galleries, and they kind of have that word of mouth aspect. But for me, when I was starting out, before I kind of got management, I got a lot of my work from just being present online, and a lot of people would really, I guess, resonate with what I was saying, like I mentioned earlier, and it just built these connections. And I'm sure, without social media, we wouldn't be having this chat today. But it's a funny beast, social media. It's very important in my business personally, but it's also such a detrimental thing to my mental health and productivity in some ways as well. So it is that balance, I guess, of using social media for the strengths, but then not subscribing to it in a way that completely derails other aspects of your life. And I think that's something that I'm really trying to work on this year, is how do I maintain a presence and use my voice on social media, but in a way that doesn't just become, I guess, toxic to my art practice and my business, trying to keep up with trends and trying to be someone that I'm not. A good example is TikTok. I haven't quite cracked TikTok yet, but I've seen and noticed recently with I guess, the growth of TikTok and not being on that platform, you are left behind in certain ways and certain, I guess, trends. But I just have to trust that, what I put online and on Instagram is connecting with the audience that it needs to connect with. And I'm not a huge, you know, I guess I'm not a huge, I'm not going to say not a fan of TikTok, but I'm going to say a user of TikTok, because I feel like it has the opportunity to elevate things that are almost superficial in its sense and kind of such a departure from my core purpose and my core value. Whereas Instagram, of course, yes, is still very superficial. And maybe it's just my lack of knowledge and understanding of the TikTok platform, but how I consume it is very disconnected from the conversations that, I want to be having. Whereas Instagram is still very much a space where we are having really robust conversations about social justice, about the innocent intersectionality of like certain issues and identities. And yeah, I think it's super important to be present in those conversations, because without social media and, Instagram in particular, I would still be very ignorant to a lot of things that aren't necessarily part of my lived experience. And finding that online is a way to grow personally, but also to make sure that your business is still very relevant, and making sure that it's still on the right side of history, I guess, which is funny to say for a social media platform.
No, that's very interesting though. I mean, of course, it's something I am aware of. But yeah, I I've never really thought about that, but there's so many things I wouldn't be aware of and wouldn't um have formed such a strong opinion of if it wasn't for social media.
Yeah.
We give it a bad rap, but it definitely does, yeah, like you said, bring up some of those really important conversations. I do
Yeah.
understand what you're saying about TikTok. And look, I think there's a lot of people battling with that at the moment. You kind of go on there and you have no control over what you're going to see or what.
Yeah.
And I mean, eventually your algorithm seems to understand. But yeah, I'm hearing that a lot. I do love it as well for some things. It's one of those interesting ones.
Yeah, I definitely went down a rabbit hole of watching Post Malone dance on TikTok at like 11:30 at night, and I was like, this is not good for me.
That's the thing. It's like 2 hours can pass and you've been sitting on your phone watching
Yes.
like the randomest videos. Mine is like funny videos. Like I follow every person that does funny impersonations known to man. So
They're
I get
really
my
making,
serotonin.
yeah, they're really making like a wave in social media these days.
Yeah. I think, yeah, we're all on there for different things. I mean, I'm definitely on Instagram, like you said, for that social justice, like educating myself. I mean, I obviously educate myself in other ways,
Yeah,
but I follow voices that I want, like yourself, that I want to learn from and absorb, like, the messages they're saying. And I also like to follow people that make me feel good and make me laugh, which you do as
exactly. It's like
well.
that
You
balance,
actually
that
do as well,
balance.
but
Oh, thanks.
but yeah, it's that balance, isn't it? And yeah, I was going to ask you, like, in terms of that kind of, that some of those conversations that can be quite negative, like, what do you think is the downside? I guess you've sort of touched on it, but yeah, like, obviously certain events that we have in our calendar, like, bring up some of those conversations that are maybe not good. So what do you think is
Yeah.
sort of the downside around some of those things?
I think the downside is just consuming them in an unsafe environment and without necessarily the support that you need to be able to critically think about the issues that we're seeing online. Also making sure that we're fact checking the sources that, we are subscribing to. But I think it's just the amount of access and comparison as business owners that you have, I guess, free reign overseeing. I think being able to set boundaries and being conscious of who you're consuming to make sure that what you're doing is like this growth mindset rather than falling into like a fixed mindset or like just that dark hole of comparing yourself to the next person, because it is quite saturated when you hear about businesses and side hustles and even being an artist out there. So that comparison factor, it can be quite negative. But also, I think just the fact that it can be so time consuming and the algorithm changes all the time. It's like, I don't know, you've, I guess, subjected to some really nasty comments as well. Well, at least I am. I'm sure most people are in different ways. But yeah, there are those negative aspects, but I kind of just got to remind myself that with those negative aspects comes opportunities to be able to shine a light on how, racist Australia can actually be, and how, a lot of people try to plead ignorant, and Australia Day is a good example of what we see online with people thinking that that there's nothing wrong with the way that life is working at the moment. But yeah, social media definitely shines a light on those injustices.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, sometimes it really highlights the worst parts of society,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
but as well as the good. So yeah, it's one of those things. And I think I saw something the other day about how we're all responsible for our relationship with social media. And it's so true. Like, we are at the end of the day in control, whether we feel like it or not. We are in control of how often we're on there, who we're tuning into, who we're muting, and we have that power.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like, be conscious of who you're following, and if these people aren't aligning to your messages, then don't give them your conscious time, I guess, or
But
subconscious
also,
time sometimes.
yeah, but also I understand from your perspective as a business owner, like, you sometimes don't have that control when you have all those followers. Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
So ah, just looking at the questions. Do you have any new exhibitions or pieces coming out online or in person that our listeners are able to go and check out?
Well, I'm not working on any exhibitions at this current time, but I do have a few pieces from my previous exhibition, as well as all of my other stock on my website, which is rachelsarra.com. and I'm in Aboriginal Art Co and Open House in Brisbane. So one's on Vulture Street and one is on Grey Street in South Brisbane and West End. But also, I just recently launched a new project, and I'm a radio host on Triple A Murray Let's Talk the Arts, which is really cool. So each
Amazing.
Monday from 9 a.m. I kind of chat with different First Nations creatives and artists and performers, and kind of have a similar chat to what we have spoken about. So I guess, yeah, I definitely point people in that direction to kind of have a listen to the diverse voices that, you know, we are as First Nations people. And it's the first time in a while I've been excited about a project. Like, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm always excited about projects, but they all kind of have had this similar kind of role, whereas this is a really different role for me. So I'm really excited to explore that a bit as well.
That's amazing. I did see that you were on that station, but I didn't know you were a host. I thought you must have been a guest. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. I will definitely go and check that out for sure. And would encourage everyone that's listening to as well. So yeah, if people want to find you other than your website, where should they go on social media to check you out as well?
Well, I am on TikTok. I don't post, but mostly Instagram, and both Instagram and TikTok is Sarra, which is SAR.RA__. But yeah, follow me there, and I kind of yarn and share art and different things on there.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Rachel. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I'm really glad I finally got to get you on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having